The gold-plated doors of Sterling Vance Tower hadn't even been buffed yet when Officer Julian Hayes shoved Dominic Vance away from the entrance. "I don't care if you have a delivery. The service entrance is in the alley." Hayes' voice was a sneer of pure, unadulterated arrogance. Dominic, a man of dark complexion and a visionary architect behind the skyline's newest jewel, didn't raise his voice. He adjusted his bespoke suit and looked at the officer with a chillingly calm gaze. "Officer, you are currently standing on a marble I hand-selected in Italy, blocking the man who designed the very floor you're standing on. You have exactly 2 minutes to check the VIP guest list for the grand opening before the police chief, your boss, arrives to give me the keys to the city." The sound of a motorcade pulling up and the frantic whispering of the building's owner signaled a status reversal that would leave Hayes jobless by sunset. The morning sun glinted off the glass curtain wall of the Vance Spire, the tallest and most expensive residential building in Manhattan. Dominic Vance, a man of dark complexion whose name was synonymous with modern architectural genius, stood at the base of his masterpiece. He was dressed in a minimalist, high-end navy suit, carrying a slim digital tablet containing the final structural sign-offs. He wasn't there to work. He was there for the grand unveiling. This building was his legacy. But as he approached the grand entrance, he was met by Officer Julian Hayes, a private security contractor and off-duty cop who had been hired to keep the riffraff away from a high society event. Hayes saw a man of dark complexion approaching the red carpet, and his internal bias immediately categorized Dominic as a threat or a laborer. Whoa. Back it up, pal," Hayes said, stepping into Dominic's path with a smug, dismissive grin. "The crew entrance is around the back. This entrance is for residents and the press." "I am aware of that, officer," Dominic replied, his voice a smooth, educated baritone. "I am here for the ribbon-cutting ceremony." Hayes laughed, a dry, mocking sound. "Yeah, and I'm the King of England. Unless you're carrying a silver tray with champagne, you're at the wrong door. Now move along before I cite you for loitering." Dominic reached for his invitation inside his jacket, a move that Hayes intentionally misinterpreted. The officer reached out and grabbed Dominic's wrist, twisting it sharply as he shoved him toward the concrete edge of the decorative fountain. The physical abuse of power was swift. Hayes pinned Dominic against a stone pillar, his hand pressing firmly against the architect's shoulder to keep him immobilized. "I told you to move. Don't reach for anything," Hayes barked, his face inches from Dominic's. "You guys always try the 'I belong here' act. It doesn't work on me. I've been guarding buildings like this for 10 years, and I know who belongs in them and who doesn't." Dominic felt the cold stone against his back, the very stone he had spent 6 months sourcing to ensure the building's aesthetic was perfect. The irony was bitter. "Officer Hayes, you are making a massive professional error. I am the lead architect. If you check your clipboard, you will see Vance at the top of the list." Hayes didn't even look. He was too busy enjoying the feeling of guarding the elite from a man he deemed inferior. "The only list you're on is my daily arrest log if you don't shut up. You're trespassing on private property." He ratcheted the pressure on Dominic's arm, causing the tablet to slip from Dominic's hand and shatter on the expensive pavement. A crowd of early arriving socialites and journalists began to gather, their cameras flashing. Vanessa, a high-status interior designer who had worked under Dominic, stepped forward, her eyes wide with shock. "Officer, stop. Do you have any idea what you're doing?" "That's Dominic Vance," she cried out, trying to push past the security tape. "Stay back, ma'am. This man is being non-compliant." Hayes lied, his arrogance forcing him to double down on his mistake. A young apprentice architect named Leo, the low-status relative in the industry, tried to intervene, holding up his own ID badge. "Sir, look, here is the firm's logo. He's our boss." Hayes turned on Leo, pointing his finger aggressively. "Get out of my face before I arrest you for interference. I don't care what your little badges say." He doesn't have an invite, and he's resisting. Hayes' refusal to listen to anyone, high or low status, created a pressure cooker of injustice. Dominic, pinned and restrained, looked directly into the lens of the news camera that had started filming. "Officer Hayes, I want you to remember this moment. You aren't just blocking a man. You are blocking the owner of the firm that holds a lease on this entire plaza. The private property you claim I'm trespassing on, I signed the deed for it yesterday." Hayes just sneered, pulling out his handcuffs. Tell it to the judge. The suspense reached a fever pitch as a motorcade of black SUVs with police escorts turned the corner onto Park Avenue. The sirens weren't for an emergency. They were the escort for the police chief and the mayor, who were coming to celebrate the building's completion. The flow shifted from a security confrontation to a political disaster. Police Chief Sterling stepped out of the lead vehicle, his eyes scanning the red carpet for the man of the hour, the man who was supposed to be standing next to him for photos. Instead, he saw his own off-duty officer holding the city's most celebrated architect in a stressed position against a pillar. The chief's face turned a shade of purple that signaled an immediate professional execution. Just before the shocking reveal, we want to take a quick moment to thank you for your support, love, and kindness. We wouldn't have come this far without you. Subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue to bring you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Chief Sterling didn't wait for his security detail. He sprinted across the plaza, his boots thundering on the marble Dominic had designed. He reached Officer Hayes and, without a single word of warning, physically shoved the officer's arm off of Dominic. "Hayes!" the chief roared, his voice echoing off the glass towers. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Hayes, still blinded by his own smugness, looked up. "Chief, I've got a trespasser here." He was trying to push past the line, claiming he knew. The chief didn't let him finish. He turned to Dominic, his eyes filled with genuine horror and a deep, immediate regret. "Dominic, Mr. Vance, I am so sorry," the chief stammered, reaching out to help Dominic straighten his jacket. Dominic looked at the chief, then slowly turned his gaze to the trembling Officer Hayes. "Chief," Dominic said, his voice a calm, sharp blade, "your officer seems to think I'm at the wrong entrance. Perhaps you should explain to him who actually holds the keys to this building." The grand plaza of the Vance Spire became as silent as a tomb. Officer Julian Hayes felt the blood drain from his face as he watched the police chief, a man he usually saluted with trembling respect, bow his head in a gesture of profound apology to the man he had just pinned against the wall. "Hayes, you absolute fool," Chief Sterling hissed, his voice trembling with fury. "This isn't a trespasser. This is Dominic Vance. He didn't just design this building. He owns a firm that manages a security contract for this entire district. He is the man the mayor is here to honor." The power shift was instantaneous and absolute. The man Hayes had dismissed as a delivery boy was revealed to be the billionaire visionary who had literally shaped the New York skyline. The truth reveal hit like a physical blow. The security clipboard Hayes had been using as a shield of authority was suddenly useless. Every journalist's lens was now focused on the disgraced officer, capturing the exact moment his career crumbled. Dominic Vance brushed a speck of dust from his navy lapel, his movement slow and deliberate. He didn't yell. His silence was more punishing than any scream. He looked at his shattered tablet on the ground, then back at Hayes. "Officer Hayes," Dominic said, his voice cold and precise. "You told me you knew who belonged here and who didn't. You told me you spent 10 years guarding buildings like this. It seems in those 10 years, you never learned that the most important people in a building aren't always the ones who look like you." Chief Sterling didn't wait for a formal hearing. He reached out and grabbed the badge from Hayes' belt, ripping it off with such force that a button popped from the officer's uniform. "You're done, Hayes," the chief barked in front of the live news cameras. "You've embarrassed this department, the city, and yourself. You're relieved of your post. Pack your things and leave the property. Now." The public shaming was complete. Hayes, who had tried to use a service in trance as a weapon of humiliation against Dominic, was forced to walk past the crowd of socialites and peers he had tried so hard to impress. As he slunk away, the crowd parted for him not out of respect, but out of disgust. The arrogant bully had been evicted from the very masterpiece he had tried to gatekeep. The grand opening proceeded, but the story of the architect and the officer became the headline of the year. Dominic Vance used the momentum to launch the Open Door Initiative, a foundation dedicated to ensuring that dark complexion professionals in architecture and real estate are met with respect, not suspicion. The moral resolution saw Dominic standing on the top floor of his spire, looking out over a city he had helped build. He didn't just change the skyline, he changed the way the people inside the buildings viewed the world. The chief of police made a department-wide apology and instituted mandatory, implicit bias training led by Dominic's firm. Dominic's status reached new heights, not because of the glass and steel he erected, but because of the glass ceilings he shattered for the next generation. Arrogance is a prison of your own making. It limits your vision until you can no longer see the brilliance of the people standing right in front of you. When you try to shut the door on someone based on your own narrow bias, you often find that you've accidentally locked yourself out of a greater future. The truth is, the height of a person's character is never determined by the entrance they walk through, but by the legacy they leave behind for others to follow.